Coming up on iOS today, Rosemary Orchard and I cover some apps that will leave you puzzled. Yes, that's right. We're doing puzzle games. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Wow, that feels all the more immediate when you are coming live from the studio. Usually, from my home studio, it would take a second for it to kick off, and then we would go. And here, it's like, I finish what I'm saying, and then we go right to the intro. How fun.
I was going to say, you look kind of different today.
I do, don't
I? I guess it's that brick wall behind you.
Yes, it's the brick wall, the monitors, all these cords. It's a whole new thing. That's because we are back in the studio and having fun here at Twit's headquarters. Well, at least I am. Folks, this is iOS Today. This is the show where we cover all things iOS, HomePod OS, TV OS, Watch OS, iPad OS, all the OSs that Apple has on offer. I am one of your hosts, Mikah Sargent.
And I'm Rosemary Orchard. Hi.
Yes. Hello. And welcome back to the monitor behind the desk. It's nice to have you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the stable shelf that you've put me on there. I'm not going to just go flying off. I've got some accessories to either side of me, especially over here. It's quite nice.
We wouldn't want to mess that up. All right. Well, you pitched the show topic today. I think it was a great idea. Puzzle apps. They're so much fun to be able to spend some time really challenging the brain and really seeing what you can do in terms of creating a puzzle or breaking down a puzzle, or just some nice time wasters. Well, not time wasters, time occupiers, I think is the best way to put it, because all of these things, what may seem like a waste of time potentially, are actually really good for your brain. It's good to keep your brain challenged and keep all those synapses buzzing. So tell us about some of the first puzzle apps that you've included today for the show.
Yeah. Well, the first puzzle app that I have included today is, of course, the original, the classic. It's coming down your screen. It's coming whether or not you're ready for it, whether or not you can see a place to put it. Yes, people, that is indeed Tetris. And the Tetris app, of course, has been updated. Tetris came out in 1985. It's actually older than I am. But you get 3 minutes usually per level. It changes in higher levels. And there are blocks, and you just need to put them in the right place so that you can try and get as many rows as possible. I will say I'm not playing this particularly well for points right now because we're live on air and I'm probably just not going to do very well either way. But I will give people some tips if they are looking for them. So obviously you can swipe down to bring a block down faster. You can swipe down a little bit faster or just tap and hold on the screen rather, and it will move it faster. But then when you let go, it stops it, which is ideal if you need to try and slot something in, but you don't want to wait for it to come down your screen. You can tap to rotate your shapes. So you put them in the right place, and it's Tetris. Most of us have played it before. If you haven't played it before, highly recommend it. The app is free to download. So, you're not going to be spending money that you don't have on this. You can just, slide some blocks together, and I'm going to try and do this. I'm probably not going to do this very well because I'm live on air, but I wanted to see if maybe with one more block, I can actually get some rows. There we go. Perfect. So I've actually managed to get a row. I will exit the game and come back to that later. It does play Tetris music if you have that turned on, James.
I was about to ask that, if it had the...
Yes, because I'm in the middle of a level, I can't actually double check, but I'm pretty certain when I started it, I went into the settings because I don't like having music playing while I'm playing games like this. It ends up being a loop. It's quite repetitive. I prefer to have my own playlist going. But of course, Tetris is the original classic puzzle game. Most of us have played it at least once before. It is very different on a touch screen compared to on a keyboard. Because on a keyboard, you're just down here using these arrows and that's it. on a touchscreen, of course, you have to touch it and, move things. And it's tempting to try and tap exactly on the block. And you actually don't need to do that. You can tap anywhere on your screen, which makes it a bit more comfortable to play.
Nice. That's a fun one. And as you said, a classic. Do you have some other, maybe the next one isn't a classic per se, but it's one, at least in terms of Tetris, which has been around for a jabillion years. But this next one I think is a classic that a lot of folks really enjoy.
Yeah, so there have been lots of iterations of this game, and I went through my iPhone purchase history looking, and I think I've downloaded 8 versions of this game overall. And this app is a Dots app. This specific one is called Two Dots. I found there are quite a few of these apps on the App Store. Some of them are very janky and ad-filled, so you might have to do a little bit of experimenting. But the ones that we're linking today in the show notes, at least in my experience, are worth it. So Two Dots, the idea is you can connect 2 dots. When you first open it up, it gives you a tutorial. Basically, you can do horizontal lines, you can do vertical lines, but you cannot do diagonals, okay? So I just need to join as many dots as I can. And at the top, I've got a challenge here, okay? So I'm trying to collect 15 blue, 15 red, and 15 yellow. And sometimes that number is going to change. But basically, my goal is to try and connect as many dots as I can to connect things. Sometimes you'll find, oh yeah, I could have done this differently and I would have been able to collect more dots. Well, I managed to do everything in that level. So there we go. I find this is quite nice because if you fail a level, you can just start over. And that is always, something that can be quite frustrating about some other kinds of games, runners, shooters, things like that, where if you fail, then there's this big splash screen and you die and you've got to do it again. And it feels like it's a long way. These levels are small and they're short, which is ideal for things like you're sitting and you're waiting for an appointment or a phone call or something like that. And you just want to do something to occupy your brain. Tetris, 3 minutes for a round. This, you could be done in as little as 10 seconds. You could take a couple of minutes on it. You can always do another round if you want. And of course, swiping up to go back to the home screen is always a possibility. And that works to pause most games as well, even if they are racing against the clock.
The sounds and the haptic feedback of the original Two Dots is one of the most rewarding things. They just absolutely nailed it with that. I was amazed.
Yeah, this one has haptic feedback as well. I really like that. You do it right and you get a nice vibration in your hand to go, yes, I've done this, and boom, these are disappearing. It's really nice.
The more recent versions of the games, I was talking to Leo about this actually, the more recent versions of the games have kind of disappointed me because like the original Two Dots was Dots was so well designed and so focused on just doing, being a puzzle. And so the fact that it, if you get the more recent versions, you get this game where there's like in-app purchases for all these different things, and you can try these puzzles, and it took what was beautiful, treasure hunts and expeditions and all this other stuff, and then you can buy boosters, and it really disappointed me because I think that the original game was so beautiful and simple that it kind of got worn down with the extra. So Dots, which is still available in the App Store to download. That one is wonderful. But the newer ones for me, Two Dots, etc. I don't appreciate those.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like those Instagram games where you see something really cool in one of those adverts where it's like, so you line these puzzle pieces up like this and then things work together. I think Clockmaker is the one. I keep seeing advertised on Instagram. I download it and it's matching Jewels. It's Bejeweled. I don't want to play Bejeweled. I want to be trying to line things up and put things back together. It's not the same thing at all. It feels a little bit bait and switchy like that sometimes, which is a shame. But Two Dots. I personally am enjoying it. I will be looking at that Dots version again because I couldn't find that one in my download history to download for today's episode. Like another one that I used to play that actually Sarah Lane recommended back in the day when this was iPad Today, Strata. That one, it's still in my purchase history, but it is gone from the App Store, and I miss that. That was a great app where you interwove ribbons to try and make a particular pattern. Unfortunately, some of these apps are no longer available, but there's plenty of good ones out there.
Agreed. So one of the ones that I wanted to talk about today is one of my favorite puzzle games that exists on iOS. It's called Blackbox. And Blackbox is this very cleverly designed puzzle app that uses all of the different components of your iPhone and the different tools and technologies that are available there. So when you first launch the game, it will actually have different parts locked, and it says, in order to play these puzzles, I need to have permission to access the camera, for example, or I need to have permission to access speech recognition on the device or location on the device. And so each of these puzzles, the ones that are filled in are ones that I've solved, and the ones that are that have a dot in the middle are ones that I have yet to solve. And the color also corresponds to the type of puzzle that it is. So it can be kind of helpful. So this one here, and I don't want to show too many because I don't want to spoil it. You can see that I'm moving my phone back and forth. So you suddenly start to understand that this is a gyroscope puzzle. And each of these rectangles were originally not filled. And so you had to move your phone around in just the right way to get each of those round rects filled with color. And then once you did, it would solve that part of the puzzle. Some of these are very challenging and are based on, for example, going to really distant locations. There are some that are time-based, and so you have to access it at midnight, for example, or right when you wake up. Some of them are lunar cycle-based and solar cycle-based, sunrise, sunset, and others of them, to this day, I still haven't figured out how to solve. This one is one example of that. I can get some hint credits. And yeah, so that's there. The game is free to download. You can unlock some puzzles by paying extra. I think they call it the Erudite Pack. I did because I had so much fun playing this. And then if you get stuck, you can buy credits that help you get hints for a part of the puzzle. So there are different hints that require different levels. And so I've just used that to determine this hint here. For some reason, it's not showing up, though. And then I'm running the beta on this. That's probably part of the problem. But it would tell me a hint. And it's good that I'm not anyway, because, I don't want to spoil anything. But there are a few of these that, to this day, I still haven't figured out how to solve. This is one example of that. I don't know what I'm supposed to do to get these two other rectangles, or these two other circles, to fill in. So I somehow got the one in the top to fill. See, you shake your device, you take screenshots. Sometimes you're playing it and you're like, I didn't even think that they could use that. There's all sorts of stuff, popping out of apps, popping into apps, using the share sheet might come up. Basically anything that your iPhone can do, that the app can pay attention to, it does take advantage of those for you to solve the puzzles. And so it's also a really good way to see what apps actually have access to when it comes to your device. If you give them that option, it will help you kind of know, I didn't realize that an app could see kind of what's outside of the bounds of the screen, or at least see some of the actions that I take while it's outside of the bounds of the screen. And like force quitting might do something. So there's all sorts of different puzzles that you can play. And another thing that's fun is that you, as you play, you can unlock merch. So you can get a laptop decal, you can get the enamel Blackbox pin, and you can see complete 3 more challenges to unlock this. So I can't even actually get this one that's not available yet, and then complete 3 more challenges to unlock this one. It says, it's almost like I don't want your money. So it's really fun. It feels very rewarding to try and solve these. So here is an example. I got the middle one because I got it at sunrise, but I need to open the app right before high noon. But I need to open the app right before sunrise and right before sunset to get those other 2. So lots of fun. Blackbox, again, available for free in the App Store, but buying the Erudite Pack is great. Oh yeah, so the video that's playing right now gives you a good hint of, you saw the person like shake their phone, and that made a difference. As they're rolling around on the phone, that made a difference. Look, there are those green dots. Let's see if we can't go back into that and do something about it. I don't know. They like lifted up the phone. I thought that maybe did something. That's
Okay,
what I
Micah,
love about this
I have
game.
to ask here.
Uh-huh.
Have you tried running a shortcut for the app? Is there a shortcut for the app?
I see
or
what you mean.
something?
There's
because maybe they've got a shortcuts intent, which then unlocks something in one of those games.
So they definitely have a share sheet functionality. I have not tried it with shortcuts yet, so I'll have to give that a go to see, because the person who makes this app continues to add new puzzles all the time, and lets you check different things out. So some of these are not available right now, and you can check them out as they continue to add them. So here's one. I haven't figured this one out yet either. Depending on, again, I don't know. Is it as I move my phone? Is it based on time? Do I need to come back whenever the hour is at this mark that's here? So
wait, yeah, you need to come back at 10 too.
That's what it seems like.
The red dot is at 10, and right now it's 1:45.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's fun, because then you need to go and set a reminder in your phone to do that, to be able to solve the puzzle. So lots of fun. That's Blackbox in the App Store. Well worth checking out. Oh, sorry. I was reading a thought from Burke on how to solve that particular puzzle with the green dots. So I'll have to check that out. Yeah. Now that I think about it, it could be a battery level indicator. My phone is almost always full of battery, and so solving that one where it's 100% was easy. So maybe I need to let my phone drop to 50% and see if there are less green bubbles, at which point that could be what solves it. So thank you, Burke, for putting that idea in my mind with plugging in the lightning cable. All right, let's move on to the next one from you, Rosemary.
Right. Well, the next one that I have picked is one that I've been playing for a really long time, and that is Flow. And so I've got Flow Free downloaded here. There's a couple of other apps as well: Flow Free Bridges, Hexes, and Warps, which are all kind of variants of the same thing. So I'm just going to show you the basic Flow game. And I've reset my progress for this, so I hope people will appreciate it, because I was a very long way ahead. So the idea with Flow is that you connect the dots, and you have to connect the dots in a specific way. So here I need to connect blue to blue, green to green, red to red, orange to orange, yellow to yellow. Relatively simple. But as you progress along, it gets a bit more complicated. How can I connect these together? Well, I tend to start at the outermost areas to do things, and then work my way inwards. But as you continue along, things get progressively more and more complex, which I personally believe is a good thing. It is supposed to be a brain teaser, and there's no time levels on this either. I believe back in the day, it's been a while since I've wanted that. There were bonuses that you could unlock to get you through to the next level, where you could sort of cheat. I have not played it where I've needed that in quite a while. But I've found that this is a fun way to stretch my brain, especially when things get more complex. As you can see at the moment, I'm kind of just flying through the levels here. It's at least for me, because I've done this all before, quite easy to do. I imagine for some people this would be more of a challenge, but it's a fun game. It's simple. It's easy, as you can see. It's a simple user interface where they've not tried to make things overly complicated. It's great fun. It's one of those apps that I like having. The Hexes one is one of my favorites as well, where you can do the same thing, except instead of this square that we've got here, it will be a hex variant instead. And the idea is you just have to flow around. And I have to say, this is one of the ones where the iPad app is just a big blown up version of the iPhone app. So on a 12.9-inch iPad, it kind of looks a bit ridiculous. It's not that they're using the 2x option with the phone, but it is just a big app. But then you can use your Apple Pencil and you just draw. And I really like that. It works really well for me. It's good fun. It's nice and simple and easy to use, which I think is something that sometimes game designers forget, where actually, you do want to actually understand how to play the game without having to go through a 45-minute tutorial first.
That's that's one of the things with some of these, more involved games is that there is that long wait to be able to play the game. And sometimes you just want to pop it open and play it right away if you can.
Yes, you do.
What do you have next?
Well, my next one is kind of similar, and this is Nonogram. So I'll just pop up on my iPhone. So there's actually two versions of Nonogram. There's Nonogram and Nonogram Color. I've got Nonogram Color here on my phone just because I think it's more fun to play. It is trickier. Nonogram is a black and white version of this, and you're going to see now what we need to do. So again, I reset my progress, so I'm at level 2. But you get a grid. The size of the grid can and will vary, just to be very clear. And you get hints around the grid as to what colors you need to put where. So if I look at the 4th row down here, then I can see 5 across gray. So it needs 5 gray in a row. Well, the grid's only 5 wide, so I can just color that in. Perfect. The one above that is 2 gray, 1 brown, and then 2 gray again. And now you'll see that I've got some X's that have appeared automatically. And that's because these rows are full. Okay, so it's grayed out the hint and it's put some X's in place. Well, the other thing I can do is I can also tap on X's to put them in myself. So for example, brown. If I look at the second column, I can see it only wants 3 gray ones. So I can actually tap here and it's the same in the 4th column where I can do that. So actually, I need to complete this with 3 brown, and then it needs to be 2 gray at the bottom. And look at that. That's how I fill that in. This is apparently a shovel. I think you need to have a little bit of artistic creativity when you're looking at these. But I have to say, it is a fun game to play. As you get to more advanced levels, you might see something like 2 green, and then 1 brown. If you see that, then you need to put a space, at least 1 space in between the 2 sets of colors, okay? Because otherwise it would just flow into 4 green like this here. I've got 4 green and 1 brown. And there we go. Well, I think I can figure out that those 3 like that. And this is a tree, I'm going to guess. It's a fir tree. Wonderful. Figured it out. So whenever you finish these pictures, just like child's drawings that go on the fridge, they get saved to your collection. Personally, I will not be putting any of these on my fridge. They're not that amazing. But it's quite fun. As well as the levels to progress through, there is also a daily challenge where you can play the daily challenge. They are quite tricky. So this is the daily challenge. I like playing this on a 12.9-inch iPad Pro with my Apple Pencil because I can curl up on the sofa in a nice comfy space. And this, I kind of need to do this. I mean, this is an iPhone mini, so it's teeny tiny. But tip for anybody who wants to play this and try this out, I would highly recommend starting with the rows where everything is filled in first, because you can figure everything out from there. And it gets much easier once you've done those big ones first. It's like a puzzle. Some people have methods where they do, particular sections first where they can see this goes together. Some people do all of the edge first. For me, definitely doing the longest rows where everything's complete. And then process of elimination. Okay, well, this only has 1 gray in it, so that has to go here because there's only 1 column that allows gray. Figuring it out from there. But it's a great game. I have spent so many hours playing this game. So many hours. I think there is an in-app purchase to remove ads in the game. I want to say that was $1.99 or something. I'm just going to double check here on the App Store. Sorry, it was $4.99 to remove the ads in the game. If you happen to have Pi-hole on your network at home or an ad blocking service running on your network, you may find that you don't need to use in-app purchases to remove ads in games. They might just never appear for you. Just dropping that in there for people. Obviously, it's good if developers get their revenue. So I like purchasing the in-app purchases to, make sure that they actually get paid for the hard work that they're doing, putting these games into place. But if you just want to try something out and the ads are bothering you, then that might be a way around it. Temporarily,
Remind us,
at least.
What this game is called. Some of the listeners.
Nonogram. Yes. So this one is Nonogram Color. There's also Nonogram, which is the black and white version, which is naturally easier because you have a choice of 2 colors and an X, and it just is always the same 2 colors. Whereas Nonogram Color, you could have multiple versions of the same color. or multiple versions of colors, and you have to select exactly which one it is. But it's great fun, and I really like it.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting this one, and now my time will be spent solving these nanograms. This is why there's a jigsaw puzzle game on in Apple Arcade that I really like, and it's for the same reason. At the end of it, you have these little trinkets digital trinkets that you get from having solved it. So it's more than just playing. There's a sense of achievement where you can go and look at your library of content that you've come across. That makes it a lot of fun. All right, the next one I want to mention, if you liked the first one that I talked about, you may also like this one. Let me see. I don't know which place it's better to find. Probably here. It's called Pink, and this is one of several apps that Bart, I believe it's Bart Bonte, but I'm not 100% on that, makes a bunch of these puzzle games, and they're all just named a color. And so this one's called Pink, and you can see the little eye there. See, you've got yellow, red, black, blue, green, all in the App Store, and you can try them that way. So we'll go back and choose Pink. And then this is the first puzzle. So I've got a 1 here, and I've got to see what I need to do. And it looks like what I'm supposed to do is hold down until that meter bar fills. And yes, I've solved the puzzle. Now, what about 2? Well, it could be that I need to swipe my finger along. That doesn't seem to be doing it. Holding my finger doesn't work either. Oh, I did something. So tapping on each of the segments, one after the other, is what solved 2. These also get harder as you go along. So let's see what happens when I do this one. Okay. So, uh-oh. There we go. So and that one I was swiping my finger along for the color. There's puzzle number 4. What could we possibly do? As I tap, it causes the flamingo to move across the screen. And now it's gone, and I've solved that one. Probably for 5, I'm thinking it's going to be rearranging these pieces to make the number 5. Oh, and look, they only rotate. So I'm tapping to get them to rotate. And what we want to do here...
Do you have to join all of them up?
Yeah. Is make it so that it is a 5. Then
connecting
6.
the circuits.
Let's see about this. Okay, so this is a really interesting one. Tapping and holding and sliding on the wedges causes the wedge opposite of it to move as well. And so what you need to do is lock in those wedges. And I'm doing this for the first time, so forgive me if I don't start to solve a puzzle super quickly because I'm just guessing as we go along here to try and figure it out. So 7, let's see what we need to do here. All right, tapping doesn't seem to do it. Gyroscope isn't doing anything. And in the top right corner, there's a screen that there's a little icon that is for a hint. It says hint after the ad. So you can buy, this is where the in-app purchase comes in. You can buy the in-app purchase that removes ads and gives you hints immediately, or you wait for the ad to play. 19 seconds remaining. But again, there's several of these that he's created. So you can get them in all the different colors. And then, you kind of get that badge of honor whenever, oh yeah, I've beaten yellow, I've beaten black, I've beaten pink, I'm working on green. So it's a lot of fun to say, okay, I've figured out all those puzzles. So now it looks like this is done. I can close out of that. And now it says pull up. So I wonder if that... Well, let's see. Oh, okay. This is one of those scroll options. So what's fun about this is that it uses the inertial scrolling of the iPhone. So you actually are going to have to take your thumbs and kind of run it across. I know I'm doing a little bit of a spoiler here. And get it to go all the way.
It's amazing how they can give something digital seemingly so much weight. because whenever I've had to move things like this on a screen, it feels really, really hard to do. Like you're picking up something incredibly heavy. It's impressive when developers manage to do things like that.
Oh, this is interesting. So I'm able to move the flamingo around. I just needed to. Oh, this is tough. So it seems to be that if the flamingo is in the way, let's see. Can I move?
Yeah, the flamingo stops.
Well, no, that didn't work. I was hoping.
Can you turn the flamingo around?
Let me tap on. Nope. So the flamingo doesn't seem to be moving.
Swivel with 2 fingers?
All right, trying that. That's not working. No zoom. I'm gonna do the hint. Go ahead. What's your thought?
Can you put the flamingo, like the body of the flamingo, underneath the 8?
Okay.
Not the head. Just put the head as far over as you can.
Okay, so just the body.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, maybe even that far.
Yeah, maybe.
Nope. I'm going to do the hint. We'll see.
All right.
Oh, no, it says, you got to do the ad. But I wonder if I can close out of it. It doesn't seem to let me. So I love these because these are ones where, especially Blackbox and these kinds of games, you have inspiration and you come back later and you go, how did I not think of that? How did I not come up with that solution right away? And it's so much fun to kind of have that in the back of your mind. You're just sort of processing it as it goes along so that you can figure out how to solve the puzzle. So we'll do this last one, number 8, and then we'll stop. All right, so we'll close out of that. It says, hang the bird. Okay.
So you've got to put the head
and then the bird pulls it down on its own.
Okay, James in the chat room, I feel should get credit for this because he said that before you cut away and got your hint. So full credit to James in the chat room there for solving that.
So that is Pink. And again, there are several of those that you could download and check out, which is awesome. It's a lot of fun that you can, go in and check out more. This next one is one that someone in the chat actually mentioned as well. It's one that I've brought up on the show before, and it's also one that when you were talking about Instagram ads, this is the one that I ended up downloading based on an Instagram ad. And it's a fun little time occupier for sure.
It is. And it's one of those games that actually actively reflects what you've seen in the Instagram ad, which is good. So this is Tangle Master 3D. Okay. And there's several games which are similar. The principle of Tangle Master is you have to untangle your ropes. It's that simple. So you tap on a rope to pick it up, and then you move it. The fewer moves you need to solve a level, the faster you manage to get stars, basically. And you get coins at the end. I believe coins will let you progress on further later in the game. But sometimes you will need more than one move to untangle things. And it gets more complicated the further you go, where you get multiple ropes. Now, if you have, say, 4 ropes and you manage to untangle 1 or 2 completely, then they will disappear, making it easier for you to progress, to finish with the rest of it. Because otherwise, trying to untangle things, anybody who did those friendship bracelets and then did something wrong and had to go back and unpick it painstakingly with a safety pin as a kid knows what I'm talking about here, where it's just really tricky. And, if you can put some of these out of your way, then, of course, it's much easier and, easier can be more fun at times. But this is a great game. I really enjoy it. So, that's Tangle Master 3D. Again, it's free to download. It's a great puzzle game for your brain and quite soothing to play because usually there are no time limitations. There are occasionally bombs and you can defuse them. There are extra pins you can grab. There are locks sometimes where you can't, where you have to, untangle those to unlock them. All sorts, but it's a great game.
Very nice. Well, folks, that is a little taste of the vast and ever-changing library of puzzle and time-occupying games on the App Store. I would love to hear about your own experiences using this for sure, some of these games. So let us know which ones you end up checking out and have fun playing, and we can be puzzled together. Let's go ahead and move on to the news. It's time for the news. Up first is some follow-up from last week. We talked a little bit about the tracking technology, or rather the ability to kind of opt out of some tracking using iCloud Private Relay and using some of the other tools that are available. And it seems that it's got these advertisers in a bit of a tough.
A tiz?
A tiz, yeah.
A tiz, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, a tiz is a very British word. It's what we would use to describe my grandmother when she's having one of her moments where she's very worried about something that's not particularly important. A bit of a tiz. In this case, I think a tiz is perhaps understated, because this could quite literally decimate, Facebook's advertising. Mm-hmm. Brilliant. I'm actually quite happy about that. They should not be able to pick up so much information on us. It gets to be quite worrying when they can do so. So Facebook apparently in particular is really worried. There's a report from Bloomberg. I've not managed to read the entire report. I've just read through some summaries. But Facebook can't get metrics anymore, which means that they can't give those to their advertisers, which means that their advertisers aren't going to give them money or ads. So I don't know. Personally, to me, this feels like we're going to get an overall better experience, because Facebook can't advertise to us anymore and they don't get money. And let's face it, most of us here listening to iOS Today and watching the show probably aren't such big fans of Facebook. So overall, I think this is probably a good thing. For sites that are ad supported, this is obviously going to be more of an issue than it is for a company like Facebook, who has plenty of other ways to make money. But it's one of those things where user privacy should be front and center, I think, in everything nowadays. Companies should not want to keep data on people unless they absolutely have to. I know personally, whenever I'm doing anything involving user data, my personal mantra is, how little can I get and still, be able to make this function? Because this way the users don't have to worry about me having their data, and I don't have to worry about a user thinking that I've accidentally done something with it. And advertising is one of those things where, on the one hand, sometimes getting more relevant ads is perhaps better for us. But I managed to train Instagram relatively easily to think that I have cats. I don't have cats, but now I get lots of cute cat pictures as ads in my Instagram feed. And you know what? I like that. And it's bad for Facebook and their advertisers too. So I can't feel too bad about it myself.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that this does that I'm happy about is it reduces the number of times that we're all as folks who are a little bit more aware of how this technology works, it reduces the number of times we have to explain kind of how printing works and how that technology shapes ad tracking and ad serving on these platforms, where you are explaining that no, the App Store isn't listening to, or the app is not listening to you audio wise, but it is watching you in all of these other ways. And that's why they're serving you these ads. So I like that, that there's potentially going to be a reduction in that with iCloud Private Relay, with the app tracking transparency settings and all of that stuff that comes together to make it more difficult for there to be these troves of data that without our consent are, without our aware consent, are keeping track of us. So this is all good. And in terms of individual user privacy, and it's kind of a bummer that it's had to take this long for the environment to kind of shift and be more focused on user privacy, because I think that there's something really kind of sketchy and gross about the way that advertisers sort of built up this way to track people before the public started to even think about that being an issue and being a concern. And it's only now that you get more people saying no to those, that you start to get more people saying no to those prompts that pop up and say, can I have access to this? Can I have access to that? It used to just be like, let me get to my app. Yes, 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 yes. But now, as consumers are starting to understand the impact and everything that's involved, and as we continue to try to push out that message of you should value your privacy and your data, that is slowly reshaping the way that people's activity works, shaping the way that people's activity is on the App Store. So all good. There for a short period of time, folks could call up a song on their HomePod if they were running beta software and listen to it in perfect, allegedly, lossless audio quality. Apple had announced, whenever it announced for Apple Music, the ability to play lossless audio from the App Store, from Apple Music, that it was going to be bringing that functionality to the HomePod in a future update. They rolled that out, and some folks had the opportunity to listen to it, and then Apple ended up rolling it back. So it's not available right now, unless you somehow already installed the beta that had it. So might have to wait a little bit longer until it's available. But we did want to mention that Apple is actively working on lossless audio on the HomePod, a device that it no longer sells. Hey folks, Mikah popping in here with a quick correction. So during the show, I said that lossless audio would be available in the future on just the HomePod, the larger HomePod. But I did some research, and it's looking like both the HomePod and the HomePod Mini will get lossless audio by way of Apple Music when that feature is eventually rolled out. So Apple's working on it. We'll get it on both devices. All right, let's head back to the show.
I should just mention for anybody going HomePod beta, wait, there's a HomePod beta. This is not accessible for everybody. There are some websites out there where you could theoretically download a profile and install it on your HomePod. Your HomePod has no ports. So if something goes wrong in a beta, like for example, the most recent beta has been pulled because of overheating issues in a HomePod, you're kind of stuck. So unless you've been invited to the HomePod beta, I would highly recommend that you leave that one alone. I am foolish enough to install a watchOS beta. I'm not foolish enough to install a HomePod beta. So that might give you a little bit of a ballpark for, should I do this? The answer is probably no.
I agree. I think that's really good advice. The next thing is that, so the digital car key is this concept that is sort of an industry concept in the automotive space, and there's a consortium of different groups that have come together to create the digital car key in general. And Apple at WWDC announced its own kind of joining of this service, so that you would be able to, or feature, so that you would be able to unlock your car and start your car and do all car things using your iPhone. What at the time they, sort of hinted at, but didn't necessarily give too many details on, would be the ability to use the ultra wideband chip that is in the iPhone to work with this digital key initiative, so that you could, without ever pulling out your phone, walk up to your car. The car would know that you are you and let you open the door that was at one point locked and get in and start the car and use that as kind of the authentication for proving that you are you. So it just gets easier with ultra wideband. So you go from, having a key fob where you're pressing buttons to potentially not having to do anything at all. And then because of the fine grain tracking ability of ultra wideband, it would be able to tell how close you are to the vehicle, how far away you are from the vehicle. So walking away from the vehicle, for example, would then lock the car potentially. So it's a really neat feature that certainly I think that the car key, the digital car key, is one great way to show this feature off. But I just want ultra wideband being used everywhere. I want to be able to walk into a room and have all of my HomeKit stuff trigger. Man, I'm sure you do too. You want to be able to automate the heck out of ultra wideband.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I would love some home occupancy sensors where it can tell exactly what room I'm in. And that would be brilliant, especially, I'm willing to put a HomePod in every room and go from there. But it would be great if they could figure out where I am. On the digital car key feature, I did have a look because I recently got a new car. And it's a Renault. They're not sold in the US, but they are part of the car consortium. However, I think I already have this feature. it's just not on my phone. I have a card which I never need to use. It's got some buttons on it that I have never once in my month of car ownership pressed. Basically, I have the key in my bag. I walk up to my car. It unlocks. The wing mirrors fold out to let me know it's unlocking. I get in it. I press the start button and I drive. When I get back, I close the door and I walk away and it beeps to say that it's locked. So it's, that technology does already exist. In my case, it's a card. In a lot of cases, it's fobs, where you don't have a physical key, except if you disassemble the thing, there's a little key in there that you can always use to get into the car if the battery is flat on either your key or in the car itself. But it'll be really interesting to see how this works. And I hope that I get this on my car. If I do, then I'm going to put that in a tech break when that comes out, when I get that feature.
Beautiful. We'd love to see that for sure. The next thing is about Apple's latest product that it announced, the very ugly but very practical MagSafe Battery Pack. I say that's editorializing on my part. Some people might think it's cute, but it is kind of, so Apple in the past has made cases that offer you the ability to add more battery to whatever phone you have. And you'd slide it in and it would be a battery pack that could charge the device, and then it would also charge itself. And then you'd have a whole extra chunk of battery. Well, with MagSafe technology on the iPhone and with third parties already doing this, Apple has come out with its own first-party way to magnet onto the back of the case, or onto the back of the phone or case, depending on if you've got, the proper MagSafe case, to charge your device / have extra battery for the device. It's $99. It comes in white. And I believe both Rosemary, Orchard, and I have pre-ordered one.
Yep.
As is the way of things, hers will likely arrive first, and we'll be able to check it out on the show. I'm curious your thoughts on this in general. With the Mini, this would be great to have that extra battery life. I doubt I'm going to need it that much on the Plus, but having this as maybe it's the thing that if I travel, it's how I make sure that my phone is charged while I'm out and about, and then at night I recharge it, and then it's good to go the next day. And it's got smarts on being able to charge the phone and the pack itself. Then, pull it off when you don't need it.
Yeah, and it can do pass-through charging in both directions. So if you plug in the battery pack then, and you've got the phone connected to it, then it will pass through charging from the battery pack to the phone. But if you plug in the phone and the battery pack is connected, then once the phone's charged, it will charge the battery pack, which is great if you've got something like CarPlay. So it works very similar to how the battery cases worked before. As I mentioned before, I recently switched to the Mini. I'm giving it a month-long trial. And wow, I'm loving this. But the battery life is definitely less than my Max iPhone. Yes, this is going to be good. I already have an Anker battery that magnetizes to the back of my iPhone, so we will be able to compare and contrast them. Mine is currently scheduled for delivery next Thursday, so I should have it in time for the show on Friday, so we can unbox it and give it a try and see what it's like.
The benefit of the one from Apple is that you do get the 15-watt max MagSafe charging, which you won't get with ones that are not MagSafe compatible.
You only get that when it's plugged in, to be clear. So when the battery is just attached to the phone and neither of them are plugged in, it's charging at 5 watts. But if you then plug in the battery pack, then it turns into a travel MagSafe charger, which gives you a 15 watt of power, assuming you've plugged it into a 20 watt charger. If it's only plugged into, say, a 10 watt charger, you're not going to be able to get 15 watts of power. Just doesn't work like that. But it does work as a travel MagSafe charger and a battery.
Now that is very interesting. James in the chat has asked, will it charge AirPods in the wireless case? Well, we can test it when Rosemary gets hers, but I don't know, because you can actually use that MagSafe charging puck. If you put some AirPods onto it in the charging case, it will charge that. So it would be interesting to see if it will do that. And in fact, James does that regularly. That's how he charges his AirPods charging case. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. We'll keep an eye on that. Again, hopefully Rosemary will have hers and we'll be able to check it out. Yeah. But $99, kind of expensive within Apple's realm of price for sure. But you can get one that costs less, that does a lot of what you would expect from a MagSafe charger for your iPhone.
Yes, you can.
All right. So the next story, I've talked about this on several shows this week because it is interesting to see all of these companies getting into the streaming gaming realm and just sort of game offerings in general. We want to be clear, Apple does not offer a game streaming service. Apple has its Apple Arcade service, which is where developers can create games, and they have specific rules. So the games have to be able to be played offline. They don't have in-app purchases, and I can't think of the other one. Oh, they're more concerned about privacy than you might find elsewhere or in some other games. And all of that comes together to make Apple Arcade. Then you've got Amazon, who does Amazon Luna. That's the one I've had the most experience with. Amazon Luna is a game streaming service where you connect your accounts, be it Ubisoft Plus or the library of games that Amazon Luna offers, and then you can play those games. There's Google's Stadia, which offers all sorts of games through there. There's Xbox. It's Xbox Live Game Streaming or something like that. At one point, it was just called xCloud, and it was so nice, but then they went and changed it to whatever it is now. And some other ones, including NVIDIA's own offering. With Netflix now joining the ranks as they scooped up an EA exec and seem to be working on their own video game streaming platform and also creating a games studio. It'll be interesting to see if they do what Stadia seems to have done, which is say, you know what, we don't mind offering a way to stream games, but we're not really into making them ourselves, in which case that will be interesting. And then I'm also curious, do you think Apple will eventually offer a game streaming platform of its own, or do you think it's going to stay with the Apple Arcade style gaming that it does now?
I think it's going to stay with Apple Arcade style gaming just because it's not, they're not aiming to support, intense platform-based games. They're more the Nintendo Switch of the console world type thing, where maybe it's not got the best power, but it's a fun and easy experience that's enjoyable. And I think Apple Arcade strikes that balance. It's also a lot cheaper. I can see parents going, yeah, I'll pay $5 a month for my kid to be able to play literally any of these games. That sounds perfect. So I think they'll stay where they are rather than venturing out into these other areas, which, hasn't Google already killed Stadia a couple of times and brought it back?
That's the thing, is that there's this, that's the narrative, but it's not true. It's just because Stadia is no longer being a studio, it seems, but the rest of it is not going away. And in fact, Stadia, but again, it's Google. And so it is, I understand why that narrative is out there. But Stadia as a service is still available. It just seems like Google decided, you know what, we don't have the resources or the interest in also being a games studio. We just want to be a conduit, which is what a lot of these folks are doing. But I understand, again, why that is the thought, because Ant Pruitt yesterday on Tech News Weekly brought up that same thing. And so it's been interesting kind of playing whack-a-mole with that narrative, because as it stands, that is not true. They just don't seem to want to actually do the publishing part. So that's why it's particularly interesting that Netflix does seem to want to do the game publishing part. Whether they will do that or they'll go the way of Stadia and go, not for us, not the publishing part, but we're really good at streaming video to all sorts of internet connections. So we will do the gaming part. You just connect your own library, get your content from wherever, and then you can use us. I have a feeling that's the way they're going to go. As far as what you were saying, I'm with you. I don't think that Apple is going to get into game streaming. So I think the premise of this article from Mac Rumors, that Apple Arcade is facing more competition as Netflix plans expansion into video games, is a little off the mark, because it's not. That should say, it's because it's Mac Rumors. That should say, any number of places. Amazon is facing more competition as Netflix plans. Microsoft is facing more competition as Netflix plans. That's where that is taking place. And then Steam itself, with its new console that's coming out, it's not really this itself. That I don't think it compares at all to what Apple Arcade does or offers. It's a whole different kind of thing. All right. What do you have next for us?
Well, the next one I thought was really interesting because Apple is working with a supplier called Rockley. I think it's Photonics. For some of the health sensors that are in the Apple Watch, and they are now coming out with their own clinic on a wrist. So it's not an Apple Watch in the sense that you would wear it all the time, like I'm wearing my Apple Watch right now. It's a thing that you strap on, kind of like a blood pressure cuff, when you want to check things out.
Ooh.
But it's using, it's got teeny tiny chips in it, obviously, because it's really small. And essentially, the idea is that it's going to be able to give you biomarkers, core body temperature, blood pressure, body hydration, alcohol levels, lactation levels, glucose trends, and more. Because these will come in through wearable devices. I'm not clear exactly yet how this is going to work. There are a couple of articles on it, and none of them seem to have like the nitty-gritty details that you and I might actually want. But there is one thing that really caught my interest, which is non-invasive blood sugar measurements. Because I know for a lot of people out there, they need to keep track of their blood sugar levels, whether it's because they are pre-diabetic, they are hypoglycemic, hyperglycemic, actually diabetic type 1 or type 2, or maybe they are just feeling a bit funny on a regular basis and maybe it's linked to food and they don't know and they need to find out. You can go and buy blood sugar testing kits in drugstores in most countries, and do this stuff yourself, but you have to prick your finger, and it's invasive rather than non-invasive. Obviously, this is going to be more expensive than going into a drugstore and buying one of those kits. But it's one of those things where if you want all of this data about yourself, then you will hopefully be able to get it from the first half of next year. First gen versions are commercial use from the first half of next year. And we're going to see what happens there, but I'm very excited about this. I've found that over time, the Apple Watch is getting better and better things. For a while, it wasn't doing my ECG measurements very well. And then I realized that I had lost a bit of weight and I needed to adjust the hold that I was using on my Apple Watch loop. And so I did that. And funnily enough, my ECG levels, my ECGs are, actually working properly now and things are back to normal. It's one of those things where the Apple Watch is not a perfect health device, but I think it does many, many, many good things. And if you could get non-invasive blood sugar monitoring somehow, wow, that would be brilliant. That would be amazing.
I agree. I think this is fantastic. I love this idea. Even this, even if it doesn't come to Apple Watch, this idea of the clinic on your wrist, I'm all about democratizing health in any way that's possible and making sure that folks who, would struggle to find, especially in the United States, struggle to find access to, traditional health services, may find some way to get some level of care in something that is more cost effective, where, maybe this is one of those devices that instead of having to, because I think of like a sleep study, for example, newer style sleep studies are take home. They tend to be take home unless the person needs to be in for monitoring. But if you have to go for the in monitoring sleep study, then that whole process is paying for like the nurse on duty and the person who's watching the ECG and all that kind of stuff. And so it's very, very expensive and prohibitive. And so this idea of a clinic on a wrist that you could send home with someone that's looking at all these different metrics that normally would take, 8 or 9 tests across a whole month. So that's time saved, that's money saved because you're not paying for each and every appointment. All of this, I think, is really awesome. Of course, with the caveat that it works as intended and all of that. But again, democratizing of health, I think, is so important. And I will constantly rah any of it that is coming out. Let's talk about, we'll skip the iOS 15 beta 3, but I do want to talk about these two accessories. So Mophie has traditionally been one of the first companies to come out with charging style accessories anytime Apple has introduced new methods of charging, new charging technology, and it is quick to hop on the case game as well. And it has now come out with a wireless charging stand that offers the ability to charge 3 devices. You could do your AirPods Pro with the wireless charging pack, your Apple Watch, and then in the middle, you can charge your iPhone. What's interesting is that you do need to include your own wireless charging puck, MagSafe puck, in order to charge your iPhone. So it's $90, and it doesn't come with the charger for your iPhone. So in my opinion, it's rather expensive. In my opinion as well, it's also rather chunky. So not really my style, but this is an option. I really like Belkin's charging option, which does have everything included and doesn't require anything extra added. But Mophie has this too. So if you like Mophie, this is good.
I think this is really good for people who've maybe already bought a MagSafe puck. And they found that they like it, but they don't like, when their phone is lying down, that they have to do the slide to get the MagSafe puck off the back and things like that. But they've already got the puck. And there are a lot of different options out there. There's a Spigeon one where it's just a larger doobree that sits over the top and nano sucks to your desk or whatever it is. But this is a great option for people who want to try this out, and it works really well. I think I like the fact that it's got the slot in it for the AirPods Pro, because I know charging these wirelessly is definitely a little bit of I need to fiddle to get these exactly in the right place on the charging pad, and then they do charge, but you have to get them in the right place. So having that not cut out but indent for those will definitely be useful for those people.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And then the other one, I've talked before about how much I appreciate Elago. Elago goes and makes accessories that it seems like other companies don't want to make because maybe they don't see the return on investment there. So Elago goes and makes all of these devices or these products that you can add to kind of your peripheral accessories. I've talked before about the case for Apple's old Siri remote. They've come out with a case for the new Siri remote that lets you incorporate the missing feature that everybody complained about with the Siri remote, which is the ability to use Find My to track down your Siri remote should you misplace it. So this silicone case has a little pocket inside of it where you pop in an AirTag and then you slide the phone in over the top, and you get a little wrist strap to go along with it, and then you suddenly have a Find My enabled Siri remote that's also a little bit easier to hold in the hand, which I think is important. It gives you a little bit more heft and lets you not lose your remote. So I think this is, once again, brilliant. Elago, I so appreciate you for creating things that I think otherwise we'd have to 3D print ourselves because nobody wants to make them. And
I did print a 3D print a case for the previous Siri remote for Smart Tech Today. You were out that week and I was on with Matthew Casanelli. I 3D printed a case for it that could hold the AirTag as well. It worked pretty well. It took me 3 days to get the Siri remote back out though, because I used PLA, which is not a flexible plastic. I ended up having to use a heat gun to heat up the plastic to get my remote control back.
Oh, wow.
Don't recommend that. I needed to scale it up just 1% or something on my printer to make it easier on myself. But yeah, a lot of good stuff is good. The only thing I will say is this kind of reminds me of a banana. And I don't know what it is about the case. I think it's just the shape on the back with the rounding. It looks like kind of like a banana. But I think I'll be getting just the R2 case, which is just a silicone sleeve for the new Apple TV remote, because I have found the new Apple TV remote is much better than the previous Apple TV remote, but it slides down into my sofa so easily. And I can usually find it, but if I can stop that sliding, that would be great.
Yep, agreed. Yep, it's very slick. And the remote sleeve that I had for the last generation that is just simple like that is very helpful. So I think that Elago does a good job of creating those accessories. All righty, that brings us to the end of the news segment, which means up next we've got Shortcuts Corner. It's time for Shortcuts Corner. This, folks, is the part of the show where you write in with your shortcuts requests for Rosemary Orchard, who then takes your shortcuts requests and, in many a case, turns them into actual shortcuts. All right, Rosemary Orchard, tell us what you've got in Shortcuts Corner.
Well, the first thing is we had some feedback from DataMax yesterday in the Club Twit Discord, which I just loved. So DataMax wrote in and said, this quickly become my favorite part of the Twit network. I love these iOS coding challenges. So, it's lovely hearing that other people are enjoying these too. I've seen him and several other people, as people write in their requests, trying to solve them themselves. And I love this because there's so many different ways to solve these problems. Seeing how other people do it is really great. So thank you to everybody who is enjoying that. And something that was mentioned at the top of the show, Patrick, who works here at Twit, said, I made a shortcut to have Siri on our HomePod respond to "Hello, lady, pull my finger" with "hee hee." My 3-year-old loves it. And I thought, you know what? This is a silly shortcut, but I'm going to show everybody how to make this because it's actually a great example of how you can just get Siri to give you a piece of information when you talk to her or him, depending on how you got your Siri set up. So Siri is now a they. So the first thing you need to do, and I am using iOS 15, but the principles are going to be the same here, is you need to set a title. And this is what you're going to say after you've triggered Siri. Okay, so in this case, it would be "pull my finger." Okay, and now you've got a couple of options. In this case, you want it to speak. And so you can use speak text, but there's another option as well. And that is show result. Okay. And you might think, wait, show result, but I want Siri to talk to me. Sorry, I've got an iOS 15 bug here. So it's struggling with letting me type in the search bar. Where did it go? Oh, I can't type. And I'm stuck. Either way, show result. Basically, what this does is it allows you to have Siri show you something if you run the shortcut from touch input. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you run something from touch input, then it's going to show you the result. But if you run it from a spoken input, like through CarPlay, through your HomePod, through just talking to Siri on your phone, then it's going to speak it. So what you can do there is just put in he. And then when you run this or trigger it via, the magic incantation, it's going to talk back to you. And in this case, I ran it from the touch button on my phone, so it's come up with hee and in a display. But that's it. So that I thought was a little fun thing that I would just take a very quick diversion and show people how it works.
Yes, that is super simple. And then you could build on that, should you choose, where if you wanted to, you could have it change the output, the audio output to, a different device or multiple devices. So the whole house goes, hee hee.
Yes. You can't do multiple devices. That's the only thing I'll say.
It doesn't let you do AirPlay 2 stuff?
No. Oh. So, right now, at the very least, shortcuts can only. So that's not entirely true. So if you are speaking directly to a device, then and you say playback, then you can only select one device. If you have previously grouped your speakers together and you hand off playback to one of those devices, now this works really well with Apple Music, then it will play through all of them. And that's the difference. It will hand off to a group, but play to one.
Gotcha.
So it depends on whether or not you are retaining that control.
And it's interesting, Patrick in the chat has just brought up the fact that people do this differently. The way that his was set up is going to documents and choosing speak. And so it's really interesting that, there are these different ways to make this happen. That's fun. That's fun. All right. Let's see. What is next?
So our next question comes from Tech412, who asked on Twitter, is there a way to use backtap to change Apple Watch faces? Oh, yes, there is.
Wow.
Wonderful. Okay. So I am just going to assume that you want to set one particular watch face. So under the apps section, if you scroll down and then you find the Apple Watch app, you'll see I've got lots of apps here that support shortcuts. Then there's a whole bunch of things you can do. You can set cinema mode. You can set school time, silent mode. I use some of these with my wake up and sleep triggers so that my phone automatically goes into cinema mode and silent, or my watch goes into cinema mode and silent at night, which helps me stay asleep. But something else you can do is you can set your watch face, okay? And then here you need to select the correct watch face. This is a bit tricky because we can't give our watch faces names. Apple, if you're listening, can we please name our watch faces? Please, please, please. I will just pick one. For the time being, I'm currently using the California face with the California colors. So I will set fire and water. Okay, and I'm just going to give this a name, which is going to be set watch face. So now we've done this. I'm going to go into the settings, and once settings pops up in my search options, because I don't have settings on my home screen, then we can scroll down into accessibility. In accessibility under the touch, if we go down to the bottom, there's back tap. And I'm going to change my back tap from the new draft shortcut that I had to the set watch face. Now you'll see all of my shortcuts are in alphabetical order. Give me half an hour and I will get to the right one. I should have started this with an A. Right, there's set watch face. Wonderful. Okay, so now I'm just going to go back out of this. So I'm on this screen, okay? Just to prove it. My watch face, California colors, and double tap my thing, and look at that. It's done it. And my watch it's really difficult to see on camera, but if I look at it, then it shows me water.
Now
it's on fire. It's now on fire. Woo!
Nice.
Perfect. Okay, so that shortcut has popped up to confirm it's done that. If you don't want it to do that, then you just tap this toggle here down and you turn off show when run, and then it should just do this. Now, there is something else you might want to do. If you want a choice of different watch faces, then I would suggest that you add a menu, and then you can put multiples of these in each menu. Now, instead of going and hunting for this action again and again and again, I would suggest that you tap on the icon in the top left and you duplicate, and then you move this item with drag and drop. And then you just select whichever other watch face you want. So, for example, breathe. And then when I run this, it will pop up with my menu. So I can choose from 1 and 2. I will choose 2. And that will set my breathe watch face. Because I duplicated the action, it's not going to come up with extra confirmation. And look, that's my breathe watch face. You can tell because right here at the top, I managed to swipe away. Sorry about that. There we go. There is the clock in digital time, which is something that I have set up as one of my preferred complications on any analog face. So there we go. That's how we can solve that for Tech 412.
Beautiful. Next one comes from Burn. Burn writes, we are using a power monitor to detect the end of a washer cycle successfully. So this is a bit of follow-up on the conversation we had before about how to use what to use to be able to detect how far along something is in washing, where a vibration sensor is not great for that. Power monitoring option could be good for this. The configuration that works for us is this. Wait for the washer to be active at least 40 minutes. Then monitor for power usage less than 5 watts. Then, and also check that it stays that way for 2 minutes. Then send alerts. We use SmartThings, but I assume the same could be written as a shortcut. I started with code I found in the SmartThings community and adapted as needed. And then they give a link to the post. My version is the last thing I posted. If using a vibration monitor, can you do the same, especially using the minimum time to ignore the time spent soaking when there won't be vibration? Thanks for the excellent iOS Today tips from Burn. Thank you, Burn, for writing in with that. I do like the idea of being able to use a power monitor for this. And as you sort of locked things in a little bit and set up just right so that you know when it's running and when it's not.
Yeah, so some of this is going to be dependent on exactly which washer you have and so on. For people who don't already have SmartThings, you can often connect these devices to an application called Home Assistant, which you can run yourself. Home Assistant has lots of amazing automation options built into it. I'm currently actually experimenting with it myself. I ended up buying a new power monitoring smart plug for trying this out because I would really like to get this working. But I don't have any SmartThings devices, and it seemed like a bad idea to potentially go into SmartThings on top of everything else. So yeah, thank you for that, Baron. It's not possible to do this in shortcuts directly because of the needing to store data option. So you need to have it running somewhere where it's going to use something like data jar. But there we go. There are, plenty of options there. So thank you for writing in.
And then our last bit of Shortcuts Corner comes from Quadratic. I think this is a fantastic question, and I'm looking forward to hearing the response here. I have a general question about creating shortcuts. How do you think through your next steps when you are trying to use an app and a shortcut, but it doesn't appear in the apps list? This is often the point where I throw up my hands, and I'm just curious how an expert thinks through it. So inquiring minds, including my own, want to know, how do you do it?
Well, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish, of course, because sometimes what you're trying to accomplish is straight up impossible. You're trying to do something that you would need a humongous server to do or something like that, and you want to do it on a plane in airplane mode with no internet connection. Well, it's kind of difficult. But there are plenty of different ways to get around problems. So if you're looking for an action and you think like being able to detect whether I'm in light or dark mode, that has to be a thing shortcuts can do, right? Wrong. Shortcuts can't do that. Okay. It can't detect whether or not you're in light mode or dark mode, whether or not the sun is up or down. But there is an app that can do that called Toolbox Pro. So I have several apps like Toolbox Pro and other shortcuts accessory apps, basically, in my arsenal. Toolbox Pro is one of the big ones. There is also, and I've just forgotten the name, so I'm just going to check what it is now. There is a specific HomeKit one, which I use all the time. I think it's called HomeBot for shortcuts, which lets you do all sorts of things. I talked a little bit to Quadratic because fortunately he posted this in the chat, so I was able to actually chat with him. And in his particular case, he said that he was trying to do something with Spotify. And so the solution to that was he had to do the action enough times in the Spotify app, and eventually it would show up. That is one way to do things. Sometimes also going into the app and looking under the settings, you'll be able to add a shortcut from there. And then what you can do, and this is something I actually did myself the other day with an application called Textcase. I'm just going to see if I can find the shortcut. Yes, perfect. So I've got it right here. I will just show people. So there's an application called Textcase where it can format text in specific ways for you beyond what shortcuts can do by itself. And the way it adds actions is it creates a shortcut with that. But then if you tap on this little bubble here, you can copy that. And then if you go to something else, and you can use, actually, I will try doing that, the 3 fingers to paste. It's not going to let me do that now. So I'm just going to add an action. And I will just pop in this one from an app that I'm beta testing. If you tap on this, then you can paste above and below. And that's tapping on that icon over on the left. So once you've got one of those shortcuts, you can do that. But honestly, the best way to find these solutions is sometimes to work around it. If the podcast app doesn't support what you want, try looking at Overcast, Pocket Casts, Castro, Downcast. All of these other apps have different options. So sometimes the correct solution is to use a different app. Yeah, it really depends. And of course, if you're trying to solve a problem and you can't solve it, you can always write into the show. You can contact us, email, Twitter, chat. All of those are great, and I collect them all. And even if we don't get to it in 1 week's show, we'll keep it for the next one. I know that for next week, I've got some sourdough cooking, Mikah. So we'll have to get back to that then.
Yes, we definitely will. Now it's time for some feedback and questions. The first one comes from James. James writes, is there a reason why my Apple Watch isn't giving me exercise credit when I start an outdoor walk? It seems like they changed something or something broke as I walk 20 to 30 minutes each morning with my dog and turn it on, but just started noticing it was only giving me credit for like 2 to 3 minutes, and we walk pretty briskly too. Any thoughts on why this might not be working, why it's no longer seeming to be detecting the outdoor walk, of James's outdoor walk?
Yeah, so the Apple Watch theoretically calibrates itself as you do things. Now, I know, and I'm sure some of the people listening are aware of this, that it does not do a great job for women. For whatever reason, women seem to get very shortchanged in the physical exercise category, where what we do is not tracked anywhere near as well as a man who does the exact same thing. Now, I'm not accusing Apple of sexism here. I think that something is just off in the way the data is being logged and interpreted there. And I'm sure that they've got people working on it. But I think what's happened in James's case is that the Apple Watch somehow has recalibrated itself and it's done it wrong. But there is a way around this. Apple, fortunately, has a support document on how to calibrate your Apple Watch for improved workout and activity accuracy. Now, I have done this myself. I did notice an improvement for a day. And then for me, it went back and stopped doing it. But I got some other people to try things out, and specifically men. And when they recalibrated things, it then stuck with it.
Oh,
so
lovely.
I think, yeah. So for James, I think we're probably good. And this should solve his problem. If you're female and experiencing this problem, then I suggest emailing Apple and sending some feedback to them, because you are not the only one. There are many of us who have this exact same problem. Anecdotally, I have found setting a meditation or mind workout gives me what needs to be done there to get the credit, which is a bit of a hacky, horrible workaround. But, got to do what you got to do to get those rings filled, right, Mikah?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Whatever it takes. All right. The next one comes from 42 Kid, who apparently has the answer to life, the universe, and everything. If you have a lower resolution picture on your iPad, whenever you view it, it blows it up and it looks terrible. How do you get the ability to view a lower resolution or smaller picture on your iPad without having it blow up to fit the screen? I just want to see the picture in its original full size. I'll be curious to hear if there is a way, because as far as I know, I've tried different things, and the only thing I can do is like pinch it and keep my fingers there to be able to see it.
Yeah, so I did try hacking around this in shortcuts, and I came up with something, but it was just, it was not a great solution, because what it did is it figured out what device you were on. It figured out how many pixels it was, created a black area of that size, and then it overlaid the image in the middle of it. And that is fine, but it's a lot of work to just view a picture. I was really hoping that you would have a solution to this. So as you don't, I'm throwing this out to our audience. Mm-hmm. Anybody out there who's listening or watching and thinks they know the answer to this, please get in touch with us so we can share this back with 42 Kid.
Agreed. Yeah. My solution is a really hacky one of literally just pinching it until it's to the original size I think it would be. And then you have to keep your fingers on the screen, because if you don't keep your fingers on the screen, then it will go back to the other size. And so I just boop, and then I can see it how I want to. But that's pretty hacky. That's not how I would like to do things. It's just how things have to be done. So yeah, again, we do put out the call to the listeners. If you've got something that works, I would be interested to hear it as well. The next bit of feedback, and I think our last bit of feedback for this week, comes from Adam, who writes, I'm on a nutrition plan prescribed by my doctor, and I want to keep track of how many servings I've had out of each food category. I'm already using my MyFitnessPal, the app, to do actual calorie tracking, but I'd like to log my categories too. I found an app called Tally, and it looks like it'll do what I want. However, this app doesn't have the ability to remove counts. It's also $30 a year, which is kind of a lot. Not that I'm not willing to support developers. So giving this as an option for doing this is kind of what they're talking about. I think there's a lot of ways to pull off tallying.
Yeah, there is. And actually, my gut solution is a much, much cheaper one. And it's also a tally app. I actually wouldn't have thought of a tally app. So I'm really pleased that Adam came up with that solution by himself, because that's way less complicated than what I was thinking. I was in Shortcuts Corner mode. My solution to this is an app called Tally. Only this is by Agile Tortoise. It's not the app that Adam was looking at. So this app by Agile Tortoise allows you, once you unlock it for $1.99, I believe it's the same in US dollars. Now, I previously purchased this. You can add multiple tallies. So you can have, as many as you want. And then if you're in the sidebar view, then you can just plus and minus. And this is the feature that Adam needs. If he accidentally pluses one, then he can minus that away. And say you are in one particular one, and this is perhaps more for sports or something where you're tapping and tapping and tapping. And oh, I did an extra tap. That's one too many. If you swipe down on your screen, it'll go back down. So this app is free to download for one tally, and then it's $1.99 to unlock all of the tallies. So I would recommend that Adam take a look at this because $2 is considerably less than $30 a year. And it's made by a great developer. You know that I love drafts. Agile Tortoise is the developer of drafts, and he's made this as well.
It's a
if
solid
you're interested,
app.
It has shortcuts support. So Adam, if this solves your problem, please let me know if you want me to make a shortcut for you for next week.
And special shout out to Reverb Mike, who has just put a song in my head that's going to be there for until the universe dies. Hey, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and me one go home. All right, folks, me one go home. So up next, we've got our App Caps segment. It's time to put on hats because it's time for App Caps. Interestingly, our hats are similar this week, at least in style. We're both rocking the striped patterns. Folks, this is the App Cap segment of the show, the part of the show where we share our picks of the week and share? No, we place caps atop our head to honor those picks. This could be apps, it could be gadgets, it could be any number of things that we want to share with you, just as long as they're related to Apple's OSs in some way. Rosemary Orchard, tell us about the cap atop your head and your app cap.
Well, the cap atop my head actually is a man's hat, but it fits quite nicely, so I'm going to keep it. And it's just a straw, I guess. It's not really a bow tie. I don't know what it is. It's a hat. It's cream. It's got a navy and white band around it. I like it. It's summery. It's fun. And my app for this week is an application for those people who like to write text and maybe even edit code on their iPad, but they want to be able to edit any kind of code, maybe even SSH into a server. Well, if you're thinking that sounds interesting, what kind of powerful application is this? Welcome to Textastic. Textastic is $9.99 a one-time purchase. But the brilliance of Textastic, as well as being able to open things in its own iCloud folder, save things locally on the device, of course, it can also open external files and even add folders. So you can add you can open an external file or you can add a folder. And this is something I really like. So you can add, for example, your shortcuts folder if you'd like to be able to save the things into your shortcuts folder, and then go in and sorry, tapped on the wrong one. And then maybe you find something and you go, oh yeah, that's the file that I wanted to edit, and I just want to delete the last couple of lines that were added by my automation. But where this really shines is where you can dive into things and say, hey, so applications like OmniFocus have plugin support. Okay, so I add my plugins folder. And now when I go into this, I can open up one of these files and it's got full text highlighting support. So I can actually go ahead and read through this code. Now it's still a small screen, but you open this on a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and wow, it's a great application. It works with applications like Working Copy as well if you are into, if you need to use Git. And I just find this to be really useful. It even has tab support, and you can pin tabs, unpin tabs. You can connect to local and remote servers. It creates its own FTP server so that you can get files into other applications if you need to. This is the Swiss Army knife of text applications. It is, insanely powerful. It can do a whole bunch of things, but I have used this so many times in combination with other apps to quickly fix a file on a server that needed fixing, or edit a text document, or actually, open TXT files on iOS, a surprisingly hard thing to do. And so I love this application, and I find that it works really well. And as I said, it's got full support for code highlighting and everything as well, if that is something you need. I know not all of our listeners need that, but for those people who are maybe looking to get started and maybe they just want to be able to review some some code files every once in a while, well, Textastic's pretty good for that too.
Awesome. Well, my app my cap rather atop my head is a fun stripy straw cap as well. Although it's got this really fun bendy brim, so you can set it just how you want it. It can become kind of a sun hat, or you can get it up out of the way. My app cap is going to be a little bit controversial, and so it needs to come with a little bit of an intro here. I want to start by quoting something that I read from Aldous Huxley in a book called The Doors of Perception. And it talks about how we as humans are island universes, meaning that although we can interact with other people and we can experience things with other people and we can experience what one would believe is the same thing as other people, in fact, we're all these individual island universes who will never know truly the experiences that other people have. When Anthony, the TD, takes a bite of an apple, and when I take a bite of an apple, we only have our words and our expressions and what we believe is a shared existence to say what that experience is like. But unless I was actually in his brain and being him, I don't know if the way that I taste an apple and experience an apple is the same way that he does. Rosemary Orchard and I across the pond, when she drinks water, truly, while we think that the experience is the same, we never know. And so here's the quote. We live together, we act on and react to one another, but always and in all circumstances, we are by ourselves. The martyrs go hand in hand into the arena. They are crucified alone. Embraced, the lovers desperately try to fuse their insulated ecstasies into a single self-transcendence in vain. By its very nature, every embodied spirit is doomed to suffer and enjoy in solitude. Sensations, feelings, insights, fancies, all these are private and except through symbols and at second hand, incommunicable. We can pool information about experiences, but never the experiences themselves. From family to nation, every human group is a society of island universes. And so given the fact that we all do feel that we have this shared experience, but that we are all single in solitude, I think it's incredibly important that we find means of communicating things about ourselves in shorthand, because someone might not have the ability to spend 300 hours with you learning just as much as they possibly can. And of course, at the end, you still are working with that island universe. But in a short period of time, if I can find a language to use to communicate to you a little bit about my personality, I think that's a superpower. And so for some people, they feel that astrology is a way for them to communicate a little bit about their own personalities and understand a little bit about other people's personalities. And so if you look at astrology less about what some may feel is kind of mystical, wistical nonsense, and instead take it, as I do, as a way for folks to communicate a little bit about themselves, a way to throw out one of the planets and one of the galaxies in their own island universe to someone else's universe and say, hey, this is a little bit about me. Then in that way, I think that astrology is a really cool thing that can be used to help you learn. And you yourself may not identify with a specific, whatever your astrological sign might be. But if someone says, I am a Leo and I am a this and I am a that, then you get to learn a little bit about them. So all of that preamble that I just gave is my encouragement to not poo-poo people on the face of, frankly, any belief that isn't hurting someone else. But in this case, a belief in even the mystical, wistical nonsense. If they believe in that, that's fine. Let them. And if they're using it as a way to feel a little bit less alone in the world and also as a way to say, hey, this is a little bit about who I am, I think that's wonderful and I think it's powerful. And so the app that I want to talk about, and hopefully my whole preamble there gives a little bit of an opportunity for folks to not immediately go, let me send Mikah 9 emails about why astrology is stupid. Now that you understand why I think it's not stupid, that it is a way for folks to tell others a little bit about themselves, the app that I want to talk about is called CoStar. And CoStar is, let me find it here. There we go. Is a an app that I use for one particular thing, and that is the chart functionality. So you can use CoStar. You give it your birth date, and you can do it down to the hour and the location that you're born. And by doing that, then it has more information about the whole chart, and then it will give you kind of what you are according to this astrology. And I find that I do identify with a lot of characteristics of a Sagittarius. Leo and I are both Sagittarii, and less so with the other things, the Scorpio moon and the Cancer rising, but 100% very Sagittarius. And so it tells you your chart, what it explains how these kind of things work for you. And then it gives you this ability to kind of have a shortcut, a shorthand to communicate a little bit about yourself. But then I also love that if you add friends via this app, then you can gain access to their charts as well. And so if they tell you, my partner, for example, is a Libra, and he feels that he identifies with a lot of the Libra characteristics. I could learn a little bit more about him using this. Rosemary, do you know what your sign is?
I'm a Capricorn.
A Capricorn. Do you feel like you identify with the Capricorn sign?
Sometimes, not all the time. It varies.
Right.
Theoretically, looking at it, I'm one of those people that can sort of merge myself into a lot of different things, but I probably identify more with that than others.
Mm-hmm. And so, Rosemary could say the practicality and the organization-driven aspects of a Capricorn are things that she identifies with, and that starts to give you a shorthand. And so I like that there's this tool as a person who, doesn't know all of the rules and all of the different, systems and all that kind of stuff, who just, I turned off my phone display there, sorry, who just has the basic understanding of it. If I want a way to go, okay, so you say you really do feel like you are a Pisces, I can look in this app and quickly kind of learn about that. But then also to have this whole chart that's there and keep updated with that, I think is handy. So yeah, CoStar, it's available for free. The in-app purchase lets you add extra charts. So if you end up communicating with a family member who wants to learn more about their own chart, then you can add other ones and be able to plug that in and learn more about them. And I've found that a lot more lately, I've seen people using this again as a shorthand for sharing their personality with others. And so I think it's a really cool thing as a language of explaining ourselves and a brief glimpse into the island universes that I was quoting a little bit earlier today. So yeah, again, if you choose to poo-poo it, there's nothing I can do to stop you. And I respect your decision, your belief that it's silly. But if you can, let people have fun if it's not hurting anybody. And in this case, it's another tool in a big tool belt that humans have built over time to try and share a little bit of their internal selves externally, and maybe even understand more about themselves as well. So yeah, CoStar, personalized astrology, available in the App Store for free. In-app purchases add more charts should you want to. All right. Now it's time to say that if you've got questions, feedback, shortcuts, etc., then you can send those to iOS Today at twit.tv, or you can tweet at us with the hashtag AskIOSToday, or message us in the Discord where we collect questions and feedback quite a bit. We should also mention that if you'd like to join us live, we're recording the show live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, 1800 UTC right now. By going to twit.tv/live, you can tune in live for the show. And if you want to get the show whenever it's available, which we think is the best way to do it, go to twit.tv/iOS, where you can subscribe to the show in audio and video across any of the different services you use. You just click on subscribe to audio, subscribe to video, and choose your platform of choice. I think that's a great way to do it because then you know, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and it's there whenever it's available instead of waiting for us to record the show live. But we do appreciate those of you who tune in. It's a lot of fun. If you'd like to get all of our shows without the ads, well, you should check out Club Twit. For $7 a month, you get every Twit show completely ad-free. You also get access to the exclusive Twit Plus bonus feed. And that's going to have content you won't find anywhere else, some before the show, after the show, wherever it happens to pop up. And our favorite bit, which is the access to the members Discord server, where you can join us, hosts and producers and Twit folks, as well as other awesome folks who are out there who have joined Club Twit. $7 a month, twit.tv/clubtwit to check it out and join the club, join the fun, join the party. And then the last thing I'll mention is Tech Break. Rosemary just mentioned something earlier with Tech Break. She might be able to share a little bit later. Twit.tv/TB gets you access to that. If you're subscribed to the Twit Bits feed, then you will already know about this and you will already have access to it. But we've updated it with the ability to kind of bring you stuff as it happens. We get new devices in maybe and want to share them with you, unboxing or some news breaks or what have you. Then it's there. It's available for you to check out. Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out all the great work you're doing, where do they go to do that?
Well, you can go to rosemaryorchard.com. It is about to change. I've been doing a lot of that work on my iPad with Textastic, but there's links there to all the things I do. And of course, social media, where if you would like to follow me and you just want to go straight there, you can find me with the username Rosemary Orchard on micro.blog and Twitter. Mikah, where can people find you?
I am at Mikah Sargent on many a social media network, or you can head to chihuahua.coffee, CHIHUAHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I exist most frequently online. Yeah, that's going to do it for us for this week. Of course, I should mention you can check out many a show this week on the Twit Network as I was filling in with both Jason Howell and Leo Laporte on vacation. So Aunt Pruitt and I have been running the show here. And, well, we haven't torn down the studio just yet, but who knows what might happen, Lisa? Until next time, this has been iOS Today, and we do appreciate you for tuning in. Goodbye. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you are interested in checking out all things smart home and Internet of Things, then you should check out Smart Tech Today, the podcast I, Mikah Sargent, do with my co-host Matthew Casanelli. It's all about the smart home and improving your automations.